I was 7 when I first started self-harming, and I just started because of my family and things that were going on at school, and just my life around that time was quite unbearable.
A lot of things brought me towards self-harm. Mainly when I was younger, I had a lot of issues with my friends where they just keep stabbing me in the back, and they'd be friends with me 1 minute and then they wouldn't be, and whatever else. And I had loads of problems with relationships and stuff like that.
It's normally a last resort, and there are other ways of dealing with it. But most self-harmers are most likely to have done it because they can't find or think of another way to help them feel better.
I guess I'd just say that it was a release, and then that it's easier to deal with physical pain than it is with emotional pain. So self-harm is a distraction from whatever you're angry or upset about.
I believe it's more of a cry for help than any attempted suicide. As I say, when Cherry was really depressed, that was when she spoke about committing suicide. She did actually take some painkiller overdoses. That was a far bigger worry than the self-harming, because, like I say, she only cuts herself when she's angry. When you're angry is not when you contemplate killing yourself.
I don't think it's attention seeking at all, because I know a lot of people who do it where it can't be seen, and they only tell their closest friends about it. A lot of people don't know about their self-harm, so I don't understand why people say that everyone's self-harm for attention, because it's not. I know a lot of people who do it and don't tell anyone about it or show anyone or anything.
Self-harming makes me feel better about whatever's going on at that point, and it's like a release. It helps me kind of forget about what's going on.
I went through a bad phase a while ago, sort of the end of last year, and I got this idea to get tattoos over my scars on my wrists to stop me cutting my wrist again. And I looked up on the internet, there were like different symbols that I could look at and be like, no, this means that, and I can't cut myself. So I found one symbol that means life in either Chinese or Japanese, I'm not really sure. And the other one is the punk star, because I'm quite into my punk music at the moment. Since then I haven't slit my wrist at all, and that was in January, so I'm quite proud of myself for getting my tattoos.
I've had to come to realise that you can't protect your children from everything. Yes, there were times when I thought I must lock away all the knives, and I have, and every time I've wanted to chop the vegetables I've had to find a key and open a box to get the knives out. But in fact, it's not knives that Cherry uses. The cuts she makes are not deep. They look awful, but she makes them with a razor. Now, how am I going to stop her getting a razor?
Yeah, I had an incident, probably, I think it was earlier this year. And what happened was I was at home all ready for my prom night, all dressed up, with my jacket on, obviously, to cover up my arms, because my parents didn't know at that time. And my mum wanted to take pictures of me without my jacket on, and I just refused to take it off. And she kept asking why, and in the end I was upstairs in the bathroom crying, and one of my friends was sitting downstairs trying to explain to my mum and make up reasons why I wasn't taking it off, which was good in a way, because I had someone to like cover for me in a way. Somebody who understood. It was hard because in a way I wanted my mum to know, but I didn't want to have to face her reaction if it was bad.
There's always a danger as a mother that you think it must be my fault. What did I do wrong? What didn't I do for my child to make sure they didn't experience this awful problem? And you also go through that pleading with your child, you know, it's not fair on me, I've done all this for you, trying to push guilt on them, really, saying, you know, you should behave this way for me because it makes me feel better and it looks better to the outside world. But it's important to try and steer away from those considerations because that doesn't help them. They don't want to know that you have a claim on their behaviour as well as trying to deal with it themselves.
My friends and my family are aware of Danny's self-harm. There's been a time where my mum saw her arms and she called up her mum Linda straight away just to clear it all.
A person can go up to another person and start having a go at them that you can't self-harm, it's not a way to deal with things, it's not going to make anything better, and they're just going to get upset, a little angry, and that it could lead to them going home and self-harming again. My
mum didn't want me having pressure put on me from going out of self-harmer, but it's not a problem. I said it wasn't a problem and we can work through it.
My mum found out about my self-harming recently. I was cooking with my sister and I refused to roll my sleeves up, and she kept asking me why I wouldn't, and I just carried on refusing, and then in the end she just kind of came out and said, "Oh, do you self-harm?" And we just started talking about it, and at first I was really reluctant and I didn't want to talk to her, but after a while we just started talking and now our relationship's got a lot better.
To anyone who finds out that their child is harming themselves like this, my advice would be, don't panic. Come across as very challenging and very negative. Try to find out the underlying reasons. Try to make it clear that you're willing to be approachable and that they can talk to you about things, and don't encourage them to hide. Don't encourage it to be hidden under the table.
It's a lot easier now that my mum knows, and it hasn't made me happy, but it's made me happier knowing that she's there for me to talk to, and if she's there, then yeah.
My school wasn't supportive at all. They didn't try to help me in the slightest. When they first found out that I was self-harming, which was just, I didn't tell them, they sort of noticed and saw me talking to my friend about it, and they took me into a room on my own and sort of called my mum and just said, "You can't come back to school until you have a doctor's certificate saying you're mentally well enough to be here." And so I was off school for about 3 months, so that didn't help me at all. And then they made me see a social worker, and when I came back to school they didn't give me any support really. They put me on what they call a pastoral support programme, and that didn't help me. So my experience was quite bad with education system.
When it comes to school and self-harming, obviously there are a lot of things that, they don't have a choice, they have to do. But if they can take the time to talk to the child who's self-harming, it would make it a lot easier just to try and explain to them, their rights to school, and maybe try and talk to them about how the child is feeling.
We have a responsibility to inform parents when there are issues with our students, and that's very difficult in its own right. When do we inform parents? Because if parents aren't aware that their child is self-harming, why aren't they aware? Why haven't they spotted this? Why haven't they seen what's going on in front of their own eyes? But then we could say the same things. We haven't spotted it. It's only perhaps because another student has told us that we are now aware.
You know, that obviously they have to tell their parents at some point, but to maybe try and sort out a way that they could do that, that the child is okay with.
There's more support than there was. I think that there should be a lot more, like at schools there should be trained counsellors, or there should be at least a known place where you can go to talk to someone in confidence and not have it told to someone else. It should be confidential.
The doctors now have to be far more understanding of self-harmers, whereas perhaps their idea before was you're wasting our time. And so that's good to see as well, but it's quite frightening as well to see that that's what's happening in medicine, and they're the front line of this. So, you know, right, where are guidelines in education? And we need that sort of support and help and information as well.
My name's Rowena Jabber from the Wish Centre in Harrow, and I met Dannie about a year ago when she did her work experience with us and noticed she was a self-harmer. As a result, with Steph and Loz, we set up the Girls Xpress project, and that was really to do some campaigning around schoolgirls that are self-harmers and to set up a self-help and support group. We did have this great opportunity to make a music video, really to raise awareness about the issues of self-harm and explode some of the myths, but also to give the girls an opportunity to express themselves through creativity.
We wanted to get involved because as a school we're very aware of the issue of self-harm, and wanted to be able to do something to help, but also to raise not just awareness of the issue within the school, but to find out for ourselves more about why young people do this, how bad the problem is within our own school, and use their advice of the young people involved as to what we can do to help.
The whole idea with this is instead of just having counselling, which is useful, most self-harmers really benefit from the opportunity to express themselves in other ways than self-harm. And I believe quite strongly that using your creative drive is part of the vehicle towards recovery.
The best thing about it is being able to talk about what you feel, but also being able to help other people and giving advice to other people.
The music video has given the girls an opportunity to write the lyrics for the song and actually get involved in songwriting.
A lot of the lines were from a few poems of mine and they've been switched around a little. And I was just proud to have written a song that sounds good and looks good and is meaningful. I was kind of nervous when we first went into the recording studio. I didn't really know what to expect or what it would look like or whether I would be on my own or not. And then I went through the lyrics with Simon, put to the melody and did some practicing until Simon thought, oh, my voice was ready. And then we started recording. I did a few tracks on my own and the other two turned up, Loz and Steph, and they did their bit.
They put together the storyboard for the actual video itself and auditioned professional actors, all of whom volunteered. They also planned the shots and all three of them directed the film on set, which was really fantastic.
You looked halfway down through the look again, just hold the look just like another second. And
The film crew told us that all three of us were very good at directing. They were very pleased with me, and apparently I was quite a mature director.
It's made me a lot more confident, and I've been able to talk to people about how I'm feeling and stuff that's on my mind.
I think Cherry will stop cutting herself soon, actually, especially after the project and everything.
Yeah, it's been fun. We have quite a few laughs.
About myself, I've learned that I do have a lot more confidence than I began with, and that I'm now easier to talk to people about what I feel.
I think the key to a lot of it is the self-esteem. Any mechanism, any measure that can help a young person improve their self-esteem and their self-confidence. I that's ultimately what it's all about.